We are going to get underway, and I'm going to introduce the special guest this evening. You might know him from the Teletubbies. They were at one stage avant-garde. Is that right?
For like 2 days we were, yes.
Yeah. Um, avant-garde, and that's probably where you know him best from.
Uh,
If I can just get you to mute your mic actually in Skype while we're here as well,
oh,
so we don't get
yeah, yep.
feedback. Um, yeah, so Sam Johnson. The Firstly, welcome along to the show.
Thank you, thank you.
Turn Sam up. I'm being told. Okay, we'll
I'm a
do.
bit quiet.
Yeah, a little bit
Yeah,
on the quiet side. I think it's because I'm relatively loud as well. As I
yeah.
see Dylan is now here as well, so I'm gonna bring him in. Welcome into the show, Dylan, DJ Pyle. He'll respond at some point, I'm sure, once he's sorted everything out. Um, Yeah, so firstly, thank you for coming on the show, Sam. Obviously, for those who don't know, Sam's team DDT unfortunately got knocked out in the round or best top eight, the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it
Only
was.
a few days ago. I don't want to bring that up. I'm sure it's kind of a fresh wound.
Oh,
Um,
that's alright. We got further than
One,
we
two.
expected to, so we're
One,
still
two.
happy with it.
You were here,
Oh, can you
Dylan.
guys
We
hear
can
me?
hear you.
Oh, sweet. Okay, just have to change the settings and everything is all good.
Awesome. I'm gonna where are we? Yes. So, firstly, Sam, we're gonna go back, and I want to know how you started. So, firstly, like, was Dota the first like MOBA, that kind of game that you played?
Mm, MOBA, yeah, but Warcraft 3, actually no, okay. So my first ever computer game was actually Age of Empires.
Age of
So,
Empires.
back when I was a little kid, my dad used to play Age of Empires, and I'd sit there watching him. And I played that for a good 3, 4 years before I even thought of playing other games. And then I played Warcraft 3 back in the day before Dota was even a thing, and I just played Footman Frenzy, all the custom
Yeah.
games, ran around with all my little creeps attacking things. Didn't have any idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then I played Dota 1 for probably 2 years before, maybe 3 years before Dota 2 was first released. And yeah, I kind of just eventually, I was actually horrible at the game when Dota 2
Yeah.
was first released, and I kind of decided, hey, I like this game. I started playing more, and I decided I wanted to learn. So I slowly got better.
I mean, you hear a lot of people say that like even like the top players in Dota, like compared to what we have now in Dota 2, it's just kind of like light and day. Sorry, night and day rather. In terms of like the differences between the two, is that a fair comparison? Do you think?
You're meaning Dota 1 and Dota 2
Yeah,
now?
sorry, between Dota 1 and where Dota 2 is now.
To be honest, I have absolutely no idea. Like
Yeah,
back when I played Dota 1, it was kind of pick Draw Ranger, build 4 Hyperstones, attack really fast.
yeah,
Hey, you're doing great.
yeah.
I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I just played because it was fun. So I mean, I never followed the scene back then. I had no idea it was actually like a big professional scene or anything until I got into Dota 2 and saw TI1. So I would have no idea how to compare the two. But I mean, I've watched the replays of the TI1 games, the TI2 games,
Yeah.
and I mean, looking back at the skill involved in the plays that were made in those tournaments compared
Yeah.
to nowadays, I mean, it was nothing. Like the plays you called insane back then are like just,
It's
oh,
kind of
you're a noob, you didn't do that sort of thing nowadays.
yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely say the skill level or the skill cap of teams and players in general has gotten very much higher over the last few years.
So
And
you've just come out of Dota 1. You've transitioned into Dota 2. At what kind of age were you once you kind of transitioned into Dota 2 and decided, hey, maybe this is a bit of a goer for me?
Uh, uh, what? I think my first game of Dota 2 would have been early 2012, so I was what, 16, 15, 16 back then. I think.
Okay.
So yeah. So I'd have been 15 when I first started Dota 2, and I don't know. I joined my first team probably about 2.5 years ago. So it was probably about then that I decided that I'd try taking it, like play tournaments and stuff.
So for those who aren't aware, how did you kind of get yourself noticed on the scene, if you will? Because you're obviously in, like, I mean, you probably call one of the top three, maybe top two teams in the Oceania region now. Like, how does that happen? How do you get your name out there? Is it just spamming pubs and being good at pubs, or did you know people in the teams? Had you played
I
in
would say a
previous
bit of
iterations?
luck and a bit of like just knowing people. I mean,
Yeah,
when I first started in the pro scene, I was pretty freaking bad.
yeah,
Like when I first started in the competitive scene, I didn't really know what I was doing. The only reason I got in was because one of my brother's flatmates was actually looking for an extra player. Um, and I was like, oh, I'll try learn, and they
yeah.
taught me how to play competitively. So I mean that if he wasn't my brother's flatmate, I'd have never been known. I'd have never got in the first place. Other than that, I mean, my current team, the only reason I got in was because they were looking for one support player, and I'd been playing with Jet, and he was like, "Oh, Fury's pretty good," and I
Yeah.
joined. So I would say a lot of it is knowing people. Like there are a lot of good players around the Oceania region. Um, but it's more if people know that you're nice to play with, if people know that you're committed, it's a lot easier to get in. And I mean, you only get that from playing with a lot of people
Yeah.
in teams. So it's like getting started, I would say, is really hard. Like you have to have friends or people in the competitive scene that you know to actually even give yourself a like kickstart sort of thing.
So I'm lucky enough to know kind of your ridiculous sleep schedule. So let's rewind. Let's say like a week or so. Now you've got you work as well, so you aren't full time committed to playing. So you work and then you play Dota as well. So let's just why don't you go through your sleep schedule normally when it comes up to like a tournament? Let's say it's an SCA tournament, so it's that kind of time zone.
Um, okay, so coming up to tournaments, I'll completely change my sleep schedule depending on when the tournament is. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, if it starts at 3 p.m. in the day, I kind of have to flip my schedule on the head just because normally I work 8 a.m. shifts and I'll play scrims with my team until about 5 or 6 in the morning.
yeah,
So I can't really get 1 hour sleep and then go on for work. So generally, I wake up at about 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. New Zealand time, and I'll go to sleep at 3 or 4. Whereas when it comes to tournaments, most of them actually start 4, 6 p.m.
yeah.
because they're generally Singapore tournaments. So I normally have to then just hope that I don't have work any of those days and just go to sleep early
Yeah.
and wake up for the tournament.
What's the longest you've had to stay up like just to play Dota? Like have you ever worked like a 9 hour day and then had to play like all night as a team or
Oh, I've done that a couple of times, but
yeah.
I'd say the longest I've had to stay up probably only like 16 hours, 18 hours. But
Okay.
I mean, I've chosen to stay up before for 60 odd, just because I don't know. When you're in the Dota mood, you're in the Dota mood, and if you've got nothing on, nothing's stopping you.
Yeah. I mean
But
that's yeah, sorry, go ahead.
but I mean, generally, like no tournament forces you to play more than like 10, 11 games straight, even if you make the finals.
Yeah.
So
Only 10, 11 games
even
straight of like having to be tuned in competitive Dota, it's not too much.
Oh
I
no, but it's more like even on a 8 hour day work, if you then go and play 10 hours, 10 games, it's still like you still get to have 6 hours sleep before the end
yeah.
of the day. So
So
you
this
generally
is
never get forced to play too much.
so at this point I'll bring in Dylan. So for those who don't
Kia
know,
ora.
Dylan is the creator of NZ Dota. Is that fair to say? You are the
One of two is someone else who works with me. I live in New Zealand and he lives in Perth, so we
okay.
kind of have like both ends of the time zones locked off.
It works pretty well. So the when you're scheduling a tournament, so obviously like the previous Anzac tournament, big success, lots of players, lots of top teams, awesome prize pool. How do you um, how do you schedule it so that the players aren't playing ridiculously like 10 and 11 hour days? Like, what for you as a tournament organizer do you see as kind of like the optimal number, especially like because it isn't just players you've got to worry about, it's also stream length, and you don't want viewers to get fatigued having to watch 15 hours of Dota a day, that kind of stuff. What kind of factors do you take in when you try to schedule that kind of thing?
Well, it's a pretty good question because I guess me and Cal's roles within the organization, he's kind of more the tournament director, and I kind of handle more of the sponsorship and the broadcasting kind of end of things. But we tend to do the scheduling together because it involves so many different factors. You know, you're talking about it involves the audience and it involves like the players, and we want to provide a service to both the audience and the players, and that's kind of like a fine line because Callum is always on the idea that he wants to have a lot of games. You know, he likes to have these big. He wants to do round robins. He wants to do best of fives,
Best of
like
fives,
all this
yeah.
crazy shit.
Yeah.
And then like I'm on the other end, and I'm like, no, I want to keep things concise within a weekend. I feel like the last day for our last tournament went on too long.
Yeah.
But it went to schedule, which was all good. Like I'm pretty happy that we executed it cleanly. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we always want feedback on our tournaments and how different parties how it's affected them. Yeah, so I guess like yeah, it's a hard decision and something that I guess I'm really into these like GSL brackets now that the majors have been doing. You know how you have the pool of four and then like you don't run. It's like a double bracket elimination, but you don't play the final, and then you can break down to lower uppers or something like that. I think that's quite like a concise and fair way of running small pools. I think, and you can fit a lot of games in.
Yeah, it does. It keeps it quite competitive as well. I mean, and when you come to broadcasting tournament, this is just something from just a pure curiosity standpoint. When it comes to whether or not you want full coverage, so for example, if you've got say 4 concurrent games, are you looking at? Would you rather, from a tournament organizer's point of view, have those 4 games covered, or would you rather have like that one stream bottleneck viewers get like 50 viewers on Twitch?
I think from our perspective, we always want to have as many games covered as possible because I think even one of the things perhaps like because we have qualifiers for our matches, even if we can provide teams that aren't quite so good that are trying to get into a competitive environment, if we can give them the opportunity to play casted matches where they can go back and listen to commentary of their games and things like that. I think that's also quite important. So it's always kind of the standpoint of trying to get as many games covered as possible, but then also the other side of that spectrum is the organizational side and trying to find enough reliable casters that can provide good production quality and good casting quality and fill all these other boxes.
Yeah, I mean, Sam, question for you. When was the first time that your game got casted? Can you remember your first ever casted game?
Oh, that was actually ages ago. I can't remember exactly the first game, but it would have been back 2012. Like, I played a tournament with just a bunch of friends. I'm gonna try to find it. I can't remember what it was called. It was just like a New Zealand one.
Okay.
You casted my first one, Zach.
Oh, did I cast your first? When was that?
It was okay. It was when I was playing with it was a really terrible New Zealand amateur tournament.
Yeah.
And me and my friends entered it for a bit of a joke. I think we were all like 3K Dota back then.
Yeah.
And then we versed Jins' team. And we got absolutely wrecked, but I was playing Rubik and I stole 2 Ravages, and that was like the highlight.
That's the highlight of the game. Oh, sick.
Yeah, I was proud of that. Like everything else went like absolutely failed, but I stole some Ravages.
you stole Ravage
kind of fun.
twice. I like that.
Okay, I think I have found my game. It would have been back in 2012, the first season of Tide's Wrath. So it was a Southern Cross Dota tournament.
Wow. I wasn't even around when Tide's Wrath was a thing. I heard about it.
I I know they casted a lot of like they didn't cast every game, but I'm pretty sure we played like three and one of them was casted.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, that would have been my first ever casted game. I'm not too sure if it counts as a real competitive game though, because
Oh, but
that was just a playing with friends.
how has having your games casted, like, has that influenced you at all? Having that ability to go back and listen to the casting on your matches?
Generally not. I mean,
But
this probably
also
sounds
the
pretty
fact,
bad, but
but
if
also
I
the
ever
fact
go
you're knowing
through,
and you're playing with like an audience as well. Because I mean, I think that can make a difference to your mindset when you know that like people are watching what you're doing.
in general, when I play, I zone everything out. Like
Yeah, nice.
I'll listen to my captain, and that's about it. But it's probably a pretty bad, no, possibly bad mindset to have. But when I go over replays, I'm generally looking for specific things, like whether I noticed during the game that I was making poor mechanical plays, or I noticed the other team was making nice like smoke rotations or something. I'll generally mute the cast completely, go full free camera, and I'll just skip through looking for specific moments that I want to work on. So generally, I won't rewatch a game with the cast playing anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like going back to that point about people watching you, making you play differently. Like I've been kind of like streaming most nights for the past couple of months, and my game like completely changes when I know I've got an audience of people watching. Like I'm a bit of an asshole when I play Dota on my own in a pub. Like I'm gonna be the first to admit it. Like, I can be a bit of a dick, but when I know that I've got even like even one person watching me on stream, like I'm the nicest guy out. You know, I'm all about the positive mental attitude, encourage my teammates. I'm all about, you know, that power of positivity. But honestly, get me in a solo game. But it's interesting to hear you say that you kind of mute everything out, because I guess there's always at some level, like the first time that you played up against like some of the better known players in the Australian region, like was there that sense of like, not gonna say awe, but did it change your play style in any way?
Oh, definitely. When versing the players that I respect, I probably respect them slightly too much,
Yeah,
and I always like whenever I'm versing Godot stack or Shaitan stack, I'll
yeah,
always be like, oh crap, can't do this. They'll outplay me, sort of thing,
yeah.
and I'll generally play a bit, like actually a lot more safe than I normally would. Like I just pretty much whenever I'm versing a team that I know is good or I don't know at all, I'll generally just like find the line for pushing my limits, and I'll just take 3 steps backwards and just make sure I don't go close to it,
Yeah.
sort of thing. Just don't give them an opportunity to actually make the outplay. I mean, it doesn't give me opportunity to outplay them either, but it means as long as a team we play better, we'll still come out on top.
If you, by the way, if you are in chat at the moment, and you do have any questions for our panelists, feel free to chuck them in. Yeah, I'll just clarify what was said earlier. Um, Unfortunately, a little bit of a late technical issue. Also, I got started late, so you get to see Dylan's Facebook profile picture as opposed to
Fuck
uh,
you.
as
Shout
opposed
outs
to
to
his
Michael Matthews who drew it. It's pretty sick.
nice. Instead of seeing his beautiful face, you get that. But
Instead of seeing my bedroom.
yeah, I see the back of your bedroom. That's why I turned my camera around. So you only see the back of my wall now. You don't see like my blinds in the background and all that other
Can't work out
stuff.
where you live from the view.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, moving on. So I will.
I want to talk about the major, the qualifiers. Is anyone
Yes,
watching
yeah,
it?
we are going to get onto the qualifiers in a
Oh,
second.
we're
I've
gonna
just
get on that
got.
later. Sweet.
Oh, don't worry, don't worry. I've got that coming up. But just a question, I mean, for Sam. So, for those who are unaware about DTT's kind of roster, it's gone through about 3 or 4 different, like, iterations, if you will. There's been kind of different players playing at different times. And now you've settled on this, is it 5593 or 5598, whatever his name is, who's apparently, like, super good. Like, and I've seen him play, and
Uh,
he is a pretty good player. But we're, like, as a team, do you discuss kind of roster changes, or do you kind of just leave it up to the captain? Do you have any say in it? Do you, or is it just kind of
I mean, I'm sure I could have a say if I talked up, but pretty much I leave it to the captain. If he feels like, I mean, you can all tell if something's not working properly. Like if someone's not fitting in with the team or someone's just not playing well, it's easy to tell. Like, just you can ask them what, or I mean, as in our last case, it was just our captain wanted to replace him, so it wasn't really like I don't think any of us really had a say. It was either the captain disbands the team or replaces him. So that's kind of what just ended up happening. We got a new player instead.
Yeah, I mean, roster changes, I guess, like that. Um, do you foresee in the future kind of roster stability being a thing in the Oceania region, or is it very much that because there's still such an amateur status on the game itself that there will continue to be kind of like quite volatile rosters until there's proper sponsors and proper money being pumped through and contracts being enforced?
I'd say there's always going to be a lot of like instability in rosters, just because I mean there isn't money involved in the Australian scene.
Yeah,
Um, like actually earning money from Dota here is insanely difficult. I
yeah,
mean, coming up in 2 weeks, I'm going to be paying $600 for flights to Sydney, and then however much it costs for me to stay there for a week to play a tournament where even if we come first, I'm only going to actually win $400.
yeah.
So it's like
Brutal.
for teams to stay stable with rosters, someone's gonna have to break the scene. Like, we're gonna have to either get to the point where there are plenty of decently large tournaments, or one of the teams goes international, and we actually get more exposure around here.
I mean, as a prominent player in the Australian scene, do you feel like you have to take like a Slicks route or like a KP route and like go overseas and have to like even go over to Europe, maybe go over to Korea or whatever to actually further your gaming career? Or and is that something that you see yourself doing on the horizon, or you very much still kind of content and staying in kind of the New Zealand region and doing what you can at the moment?
Well, I feel it's a much better way of getting yourself out there, of improving yourself, like getting into the pro scene, but it's so risky. Like, I mean, the thing
Yeah,
is, you can spend all that money, move to Europe, move to America, and then you get picked up. Sure, you'll almost definitely make it into a team. Like, you won't move until you have one. But you can get over there, join a 7K team, lose every qualifier to the top pro teams in America, and waste all your money, and
yeah,
then come
exactly.
back 6 months later. Well, I got a little better, but all it ended up being was just a waste of time, pretty much.
Oh.
Like a cool experience in America for a lot of money, sort of thing.
So for you personally, it's probably not going to happen, or
For me personally, I'm gonna try my hardest from New Zealand. I might like move to Australia. Like I'm thinking of possibly moving to Oz, just because you do get better connection to the servers.
to ACA, yeah.
But
You have the lands as well, don't you?
unless we get a sponsor like that's happy to pay for a gaming house, I'm staying in New Zealand or Australia.
Yeah, Dylan just mentioned about the land scene as well. It's a bit more prominent in Australia than it is New Zealand, and perhaps a little bit easier to access. I guess a bit more money in it.
Yeah, I mean definitely. I mean, what in New Zealand there's like 2 tournaments a year in Auckland. Then we've got the UC LAN in Christchurch, which I'm sure is happening at some
I
stage.
yeah, I'm actually
Um,
going to a meeting for it tomorrow. Literally tomorrow afternoon, I've got a meeting for it. So, I
and
can
then
confirm that is happening. I think they're just going to push it back a couple of months, which will mean that it won't like conflict with like all of the schedules that like you guys have anyway. So,
yeah. I mean,
but
other than that, it's like one online Dunedin tournament, which we won the other week and got like $50 from.
oh yeah,
But I mean, I haven't actually heard of any other New Zealand lands or big tournaments other than the Anzac one.
I
I
mean,
have a question,
yeah,
and that's like how for Mr. Fury. How does Oceanic Dota, well, like kind of what is the state of Southeast Asian Dota, and how does Oceanic Dota compare to that?
Oh, we're nowhere near as good as them. Like it is just straight up. For the last since I joined this team, we never verse Australian teams in scrims. So all of our games we play on the Southeast Asian server with what 180, 200 ping. But every team that we verse, like whether they're an unknown team or a known team, they're really good. Like they're always really controlled by whoever's captaining them, and just their basic skill level is just much higher than the teams in Australia. Like I would say there's us, you've got Can't Say Whips, and then there are a couple of other Oz teams that could probably push themselves, but never seem to actually play on Singapore server at all. But other than that, just the general skill level
But
is
do you think
much
that's
higher
because
over there.
in Southeast Asia they have like way more depth of competition?
Uh, it could be. I would also say the attitude that the Singaporeans or the Filipinos have towards the game is a lot better. Like they actually try learn. Like whenever you talk to them in a game or whenever you verse them, or even just playing high level ranked matches, like the players there want to get better. Rather than in Australia, it seems a lot of players they just want to win. They don't care if they actually are good at the game or not. They play and they get mad if they lose. They're happy if they win.
So on the general tangent of New Zealand tournaments, I feel like I can self-promote a bit here. So we are planning on running the Kai Studios Cup, which is going to be one day of winner takes all action. Details still yet to be confirmed about that. So make sure you keep locked and loaded on the Facebook and Twitter. That's where the announcements will come for that. But hopefully we're going to be securing ourselves a sponsor. And we get a whole bunch of cool teams in it as well. That's just some shameless self-promotion as we head into our next topic. And that is the Manila Major qualifiers that are going on at the moment. So, I mean, for those who haven't kept up, what kind of standout stories, other than someone like No Diggity, who have come out of nowhere and won like all their games in the European qualifier, anything else
Totally
noteworthy?
expected though.
Huh?
Totally expected No Diggity to pull through.
Totally expected, really?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I feel like
They-
No
they're-
Diggity, if they're on form, they're fucking on form, mate. Like they've had a few real good runs for
I
like
think
other tournaments and stuff before.
the thing is, you look at No Diggity's lineup, and it's just like, sure, when they first formed, they did not play together. Like you could watch them, and all three of their cores would be farming, like they'd be farming efficiently, like 3 different areas of the map, but they never rotated to fight together, and it was just like everything they did was really out of sync. But you look at their players. They've got what, Era, Koifa, Cinder, and Kizu, and is it Yapsor
Yevzor,
or
yeah,
Yapsor?
Yevzor's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all 5 of those players are top European Dota players. Like they're all amazing at what they do. Like at one point, I actually rated Koifa and Era like 2 of the top 10 players in the world. Like sometime early last year.
Koifa would have been really
I
strong,
just
but then
and
he
it
like
was just
Koifa had to drop out for like was it some like schooling reason, or there was like something like that which meant that Koifa like stopped playing for like 6 months or whatever, and that kind of I think
oh
that impacted
I
him
have
quite a bit. Like when
I
you were
have
saying that you would
absolutely
have
no
rated
idea.
him like top 10, like I think he stopped playing for a bit. Um, but I mean, uh, in terms of the major system, like we've kind of been, we had a taste of it obviously with Frankfurt, and we're getting it here again. Is the major system something that is gonna, do you think, promote long term kind of sustainability and longevity in the scene, or is it like just kind of more of Valve taking the pot away from independent tournament organizers?
Well, I think it's definitely going to increase the scene. I mean, the thing is, with the actual majors rather than TI, the money is just straight up. Like, you don't actually have to spend a cent to increase the pool of the
Yeah.
prize pool. So, I mean, it's just $4 million that Valve, every tournament, they're just throwing into the scene. So, I mean, that's 16 teams make it. And 16 teams earn money and get bigger sponsors from making it. It also gives, it gives a lot of the Tier 2 teams something to strive for. It's like you play all these smaller tournaments, you win 2 grand, you win $1,000 here and there. You get a sponsor that's happy to fly you to these tournaments, and you
Yeah.
win a few $1,000s each year. But if you can, I don't know, go to a gaming house, work for 2 months, make it into one of these majors, like you make it and you earn, I think it's like 60 grand for 16th place,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
split between the team. But I mean, it's not only that. You get all the sponsors from making the major. You get all the exposure from making the major. So I really think it's actually really good for the scene.
Yeah, I'm really into the way they structure like the open qualifiers as well, and just like giving anybody, like
Yeah.
completely anybody, an opportunity to like get there as well if you're good enough.
I mean, you also saw like so Void Boys, they're a North American team.
Yeah, I
They
noticed that.
actually they actually took the opportunity. They were like, look, anyone can join these open qualifiers. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
where you're from. They took the opportunity. They decided the C region is the weakest region, but someone still qualifies from there. So they were like,
Yeah,
screw it, we're gonna join the open qualifiers for C.
Yeah.
They didn't actually win, but I mean they did really well. And if they had won it, they'd have got to play against the top C teams and play for the chance to make it themselves through the C qualifiers.
wait, does anyone in the chat have updates for Signature Trust versus Execration? Because I feel that's like a massive match that's happening at the moment for the qualifiers. Just putting the word out.
Signature Trust Execration.
Trust. I mean, I
And
would
and
change.
TNC is also in that pool.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about TNC. Like, I mean, as a team, do you feel kind of maybe? I mean, so you didn't lose directly to TNC, but did you feel slightly cheated knowing that like TNC were going to be playing the open qualifiers purely
Hard.
based on like a roster change?
Um, I mean, yeah, in a way, but it did put one of the other top teams into the qualifier, so
That's true.
either way, I think one of those teams was going to make it through.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, going into the first qualifier, everyone knew TNC was going to come out on top of that, so it was kind of annoying, but it did mean when we got top 8 in that, we could push for the next one anyway. Also, update, Signature Trust won the second game, so it's 1-1 Execration to
Oh,
Signature
brother.
Trust.
I think that makes the last few series of the day really interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
TNC will win.
I'm certainly going to catch it. I will just plug for those who are in chats. We are going to be very soon opening up the lines, so to speak, for some viewer call-ins. The TeamSpeak server is like down below. It's kaistudios.nz semicolon 9988. And you can, when you just pop yourself into the waiting room, and I'll drag you in and we can have a chat to you. Feel free, I mean, anytime now, we'll probably bring you in if you wanted to come on, have a chat, make a comment, have a question, get something off your chest. Has Fury said something that's outraged you? Is Dylan's lack of beautiful face on the stream just not good enough? I don't know.
I'm so used to radio that like having my face on screen would be so weird anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like, you do, like, I've listened to some of the stuff, it's pretty cool, eh? Like, is that fully independent? Are you guys funded by anyone, or?
Oh, for the poor boy thing?
Like, poor boy, yeah.
No, that's like a computer that doesn't turn off, like a Pentium 4 that I have at my house, and
Yeah.
hosts like a shoutcast server on it. And then there's a group of like 20 people around New Zealand who just do shows from their own homes. And then it's just like straight uncensored, and you can do whatever you want, and there's like a schedule. Yeah, poorboyradio.com. That's my little plug for that buzz.
There you go. And I know you guys probably have some more plugs as well. At the end of the show, I'll give you a chance, 30 seconds to plug whatever you want. But it looks as though we have someone ready to come in, and it is Gwei. Just heads up on Gwei. He is one of the guys who helped code the website. He's one of the founders of Kai Studios, if you will. I'm sure he's got something interesting to share. Welcome on, Bronson. No, he's gone. He's just gone. Wow.
He just wanted to make it like a quick entrance, just a sub to the channel.
I mean, he come back, Bronson. Did you just? I just dragged you in, bro. Anyway, another topic I guess we can talk about before we get anyone coming in is 6.87 as a patch. I mean, that's probably the other
It's a big
major
topic.
the major talking points. Yeah. So impressions. Firstly, we'll start from possibly mine and Dylan's perspective. No offense, Dylan, but I feel like we're
No,
not
it's
quite
cool.
at Fury's kind of tier of playing yet. I'm sure we'll get there one day. But I mean, from us playing, has like what do you like about it? What's different?
I'm a fan. I guess like a lot of people were like read the patch notes and were just like, "What the fuck? Like, there's a scan. Like, everything's gonna fucking change and everything." Oh, sorry, I'm swearing way too much.
That's
Um, everything's gonna change, and like it hasn't. I guess I knew it wouldn't really make as much of an impact as people kind of said, but in saying that, I think that it's like definitely structured towards like these physical damage and melee carries. So you kind of seen games going for longer and like people building later and people getting echo sabers or whatever they're called. I like the new items. I don't really think there's anything they've brought in that I consider like hugely OP. Like I think Slark might get a nerf for some reason, but I don't think he's that imbalanced. But hey, it's kind of like these meta heroes. Like you saw it with Spectre last meta. That because they're like slightly good in the meta, like people just kind of like full tilt as soon as they're picked, and they're just like, "Oh, what's going on? I can't versus this hero," and just like buy some stupid items and like try play really differently when all they need to do is just play normal Dota.
Yeah, I mean, like from my personal standpoint, I think the items. I was so when I opened up the patch notes, and if you're watching the stream, I haven't actually uploaded the patch notes because Sam and I were doing them, and then halfway through the patch went live, and so he just dropped everything and actually went and played some pubs. So but the number of as soon as I saw the number of items coming in, I was kind of like I wasn't too happy about it. You know, it's like there's only because I'm very much like a learning curve kind of guy, right? I want as many people to enjoy Dota 2 as
Yeah,
much as they
same.
can. So if you haven't played Dota 2 before, you've just added another like 6 or 7 items into the game that people now have to be able to factor, process. Is this viable? Why is this good? You know, etc.
But
etc.
I think
But
like some of the items are like pretty logical. It's just like an upgraded orchid, or like the little items they just put in for the recipes, like the movement speed, the wind lace, and
the
the
windlass and
negative
that kind of
armor thing. I
stuff.
can't remember what it's called, but
Yeah.
I think those things that just like that makes they're put in and it just makes the build ups for like a deso like real kind of a logical flow.
Yeah.
But also, I think the scan makes like a new aspect to the game, which might be a barrier for like newer players like that. That I think that was my only concern with that. Like, I don't think it's. I think it's kind of silly, and like I haven't really seen games being decided on a fucking scan placement. But I think that is like another thing that people have to learn. And I'm with you that for like a competitive environment as a viewer, like you want Dota to be accessible to lots of people.
Yeah.
And you don't want it to be like them to keep making it crazily complicated.
So I guess it's a good time to bring in you, Sam, specifically around the scan function because I've watched a little bit of 6.87 competitive or pro level Dota, and it seems like the scan is kind of used. I don't know. I think it actually almost creates more offense. Am I correct in saying that? Because teams like it's typically around the time when you predict the other team's going to smoke. That's when you use your scan. And people tend to when people expect a smoke gank to come, they play more defensively, right? But because of the new scan feature, they can now play a bit more aggressively, even though they might know that a smoke's coming. Is that kind of right?
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, it does have a 5 minute cooldown, so you can't just really spam it out, but
Yeah.
in general, you can kind of tell when the other team is looking for a smoke. I mean, if there's none of them on the map, your carry's slightly pushed up, or they've got the waves pushed in. You can kind of assume that they're going to use that time to look for an objective, or look for a big pick. So the scan does mean you can. I mean, if you do manage to catch them with the scan in a position where you like can kind of assume there's lots of heroes there, they're looking for a free kill on the carry or something, you can generally use it nicely to bait someone.
Yeah.
Um, but in general, I would say the skin is better used like when you're using it aggressively. I would say it's more like it's nice to use it. You can see their carry farming a lane, and you can assume, sure, there's support sitting behind him, so you can scan behind him, or you can scan the jungle next to him, and you can use that if there's no one there. You can use that to actually just gank that hero and just be
Yeah.
like, you're not in position to save him. We're gonna kill him and then take the objective. But in general, I would say more often it's better to kind of hold the scan for Roshan. Like
Yeah,
even with the XP change, like the Aegis just it does so much,
it's still a massive
and
factor.
being able to stop, like being able to know for certain that they're doing it, rather than smoke ganking you or just farming. Like they're like, hey, they have no vision of us. We're just gonna farm for 3 minutes. It does help you a lot. Like it means you can actually play more efficiently. You can move out of the base if you're behind. So it's a
It's
funny
pretty good.
factor, but it's nice to play around with.
Alrighty, so I do notice in the waiting room we do have a member ready to come and jump in. This is, I will preface him as well because he's actually part of the team who has put together Kai Studios. He is the social media guy, Matt, or Mr. Meister. I'll bring him in now. Hello, Matt.
Hi.
Did you have a question or a comment or outrage?
Yeah, only if we're finished talking about the patch. Are you gonna
Yeah.
call the patch talk? Because this is on a different thing.
No, you do you, fam.
Okay, so it's for Fury. Um, I've always sort of wondered about how much the teams talk to each other when they're in a pro game. Like, how much shot calling goes on? Is there like one person who calls all the shots, or does the whole team have a say? How do you decide, like, if you're going to do a base race or not? Like, if you think TI3 finals, there must have been a lot of shot calling going on there. Like, how much communication is actually done through TeamSpeak and stuff, and how much is each member knows what role they have to do and when to do it?
Um, oh, in general, there's a lot of talking. A lot of it is banter.
Oh, so there is banter.
But in general, it'll try to be like, yeah, we try to make it so just our captain talks, and we'll just listen to him. But I mean, if he's concentrating on something, or one of us is able to initiate or whatever, it's, I would say more often than not, whoever's doing the initiation in the situation makes the call. So, like, I mean, if I'm playing a Darkseer, or if I'm playing the Lion with the Blink, let's say, and I'm the one in position to jump the carry, I'll be the one who makes the call whether to go or not. Like,
Yeah.
or when to go or not. So, I mean, they'll know that they have to wait for me to jump in, so they'll make sure they're out of position until I say I'm going.
I see.
Um, but for big calls like Roshan or pushing high ground, or whether we're just gonna starve the enemy team, like move through the jungle, ward up aggressively, and just starve the enemy team, that's all down to the captain.
Have you ever, like, without bad mouthing your own team or anything, have you ever had a situation in which the captain makes a call and the rest of the team disagrees, or one person disagrees? How does that work? Or has it never come up?
I mean, yeah, it happened. I'd say most the one big reason why we did actually replace a player recently was because he was, I would say, talking too much in game and actually getting annoyed at calls or annoyed at how things was happening in game. But right now, how we have it, we pretty much just like, if someone makes a call and it goes badly, it's just like move on, go to the
I,
next thing, keep playing, try to win.
I understand it's now the complete opposite in your team because your carry player is literally doesn't have a mic. So he's literally like, so you've gone from the situation where your carry player arguably maybe voices his reactions too much to now a guy who just doesn't react other than through like pings at all. Is that like an easy transition, or is it like a, did you have to adjust your playstyle around the fact that your carry doesn't actually have a mic to communicate?
Um, yeah, to be honest, I mean, I've probably started talking slightly more. Like, I kind of have to just take the initiative. Like, if we want
Yeah.
to do anything, I have to just tell him we're doing this, and he just has to go with it. So, it does change things a little bit. But I mean, in general, we're all good players. We play Dota, and
Yeah.
then all the big calls come down to the captain.
What
So,
position is the captain in your team?
at the moment, he's playing offlane, so it's
Like,
X-Rag, and
yeah.
he plays the offlane for us
You
at the
mean
moment.
he doesn't play the offlane? You mean he plays darks? Yeah.
I mean, he plays Darkseid.
Like he doesn't play a role. He just plays darks. Yeah.
Recently, we have been enjoying that pick. Yes.
Thank you, Matt, for coming in and spending some time with us. Much
Thank you,
appreciated.
Ride Hunter. Fury.
Again, still space in the chat. Still space in the waiting room if people want to come in and say hi. But I will let you go now, Matt. Thank you very much for the contribution. But question from the chat. Albert Effing Tan asks, "Who's DTT's hype man? Who in your
Hype
team's
man.
the hype man?"
Oh, I guess that's got to be me, right?
Are you
I'm
the
the
hype
only
man?
one who.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who talks loudly, so. I mean,
Are you just like
during-
He's screaming. Are you...
mid game, we're generally pretty quiet. Like even if we get a team wipe or something, it's just like serious, you know?
Yeah.
Serious. And then
Cool,
banter and then serious.
Serious.
But I mean, after games or whatever, I'm generally the one who gets a bit hyped up. Everyone else is just like, oh, a win is a win. It's what we expect, you know?
Yeah. So we are closing down. We're getting closer to that 11 p.m. time slot, and of course, we're going to keep everything to time here. So, as we wind down, do you guys? We'll start with you, Dylan. Do you have anything you want to shout out? Anything you want to plug?
I want to say that we're changing the name of Anzac Dota.
Okay, what are we changing it to?
It's most likely gonna be Oceanic Prime Dota.
Okay.
It's been lots of debate within the organization. We also have another guy, Pyle, who's been working with us. Kind of came on towards the end of that last tournament,
Yeah.
and helping us out with a few things as well. So, I just kind of want to put that idea out there so people know that it's going to change, and there'll be lots more tournaments coming up. So don't worry. Hopefully, some bigger prize pools and some more good Dota and shit.
I mean, just on that, like, how does it feel that you now probably host? I mean, it's the biggest online tournament, like, in New Zealand, but like, it's in terms of like both prize pool and player and probably viewership as well. Like, were you at all surprised? Like, because I was around, I casted the first tournament you guys did,
Yeah.
like over a year or so ago now. And I mean, are you surprised with how it's taken off, or?
Well, I guess like when me and Cal started out, because he used to live in Auckland, and so that first tournament was a New Zealand only tournament. I guess it was always like our agenda, our goals to try create some growth within the region, and our overall goal is to get Australian Dota or Australian teams to start competing at an international level. I guess that's what we want. But there's lots of ways that you can achieve that by trying to upgrade the whole competitive environment, whether that be for lower teams or people having access to local teams to support, and then that gives sponsors opportunities to better opportunities to come in and sponsor teams and blah blah blah. It's just about working every aspect what you can. I guess we're really happy and really proud that we've got this far, but it's still like we still want to keep pushing it and trying to take it as far as we can take it.
Yeah, I mean, we probably share similar goals here, like at Kai Studios. That's kind of one thing that we want to do. And you bring the tournament side of things, we're keen on bringing, more of the broadcast kind of thing, because if it is a professional environment and you can show sponsors that you are existing in a professional environment, and this is what you're going to get, and you're always going to get constant quality coming out in terms of broadcasts and the people who are actually going to see the streams, then it just increases, it grows the scene, it increases the competitiveness because there is more money in the scene. And unfortunately, money does drive the scene, as you can see from all the Australian players who have left for other shores and who are now gaining money. If there's money in the scene, then the scene grows. So,
it's also like the biggest struggle for us has been trying to find sponsorship as well, because it's really difficult, because esports, I guess, is like, while it might be an old concept for us, it's still a pretty new concept that a lot of people struggle to deal with. But I don't know, I think that's type of thing slowly changing, and there's more people keen, more businesses that might be keen to get involved. But I guess it's almost like you can contact people as much as you want, but sometimes it's just like you got to do what you got to do, and then wait for the interest to come.
Yeah, it's one of those chicken and egg scenarios, eh? Like, the sponsorship will come with the viewers, but you won't get viewers unless you get a platform. I mean, that's what we're doing at the moment. Like, we we want to get a sponsor for the studio itself. So although we're going to run competitions, which we obviously will have naming rights sponsors for, like, we want the studio itself, because we're putting out extra content that isn't just the tournament, we are putting out constant content. But in saying that, if you can't show if you can't show the sponsor the viewership, then they don't care. And if you without the sponsorship money in it, unless you're investing personally, which, like, we're all pretty much just broke students or broke, young people doing this. Like, we don't have Turkish billionaires for fathers,
and also, like, the funny thing about esports is they're different to other sports where they supersede geopolitical boundaries. So, as in other sports, everything's nationalized and everything's localized even. So there's a lot more maybe local businesses or smaller scale sponsorship going on. But because esports is such like a wide catch area because people play on servers rather than at their local club. Your server is your local club, but it just has 50,000 members. Everything's like on a bit of a different scale.
Which is like, it's cool in a way, but I do agree it does make it hard for sponsorship. Although in saying that, like, I mean, I've been obviously looking into like sponsors we can pick up as a company. There are beginning to be, especially ISPs that are marketing specifically towards heavy data users, specifically gamers, which is, I guess, kind of cool to see. But at the same time, it's only a very small pot, because they're not like the large ISPs and the large businesses don't really care. But maybe that is I feel like this is probably maybe a discussion that we can probably have in depth on another episode, because there is certainly a can of worms behind this. But as we are approaching that 11 o'clock boundary, and I don't see anyone else in the waiting room, we're going to throw it over to Fury. I know you've got a couple of things you want to plug.
Do I?
I mean, you literally just started a Facebook page this afternoon, dude. Like, come on.
Oh!
Yeah, get your plug
Social
game
marketing.
on point, bro. Come on, I'm
Sorry,
throwing you a
I had
bone
no
here. I'm throwing you
No
a
idea
bone.
what you meant by plug. I was like, what am I talking about? Do I just
No,
throw it on chat?
don't want to know what you get up to in your private time, honestly.
Okay, everyone, like my Facebook page. Oh no, it deleted the link. Oh, disaster. How do I do this? It's just facebook.com/explosivefury
I'll post
with
it.
no E on the end of explosive. Ah, that sounds good. Other than that, I got nothing. Oh, I got a Twitter as well, but I'll never use it. But you can follow me if you want.
You only
And
use it
followers.
when like Swindlemelon starts fucking sending
Followers
Twitters.
are always good. But my Facebook page, pretty much, I'll update. Like, if anyone wants to follow how me and my team do, I'll be updating like any tournaments we're in and all that stuff. Like, I don't know, if we scrim like Mineski and we slaughter them, I'll post it. So you'll know how we're doing.
You'll know how done. I will just give a couple of shout outs while I'm here before we shut down the stream. Thank you first and foremost to everyone who has worked on Kai Studios. This is a big evening. This is a big day for us. For me as well, because I've kind of put my balls on the line a little bit here. So it's exciting. But thank you to Johnny, Bronson, and Matt, who've all contributed to the production of Kai Time. Also, to everyone else who has supported this endeavour. But also shout outs to any sponsors who want to pick us up. Yeah, woo! Can promise some great content that'll be pumped out. Also, as Johnny has said in chat, shout out to gin.net.nz. Johnny just is. It's great that I've got friends who like love server management and that kind of thing, because he's got his own server. So the TeamSpeak web hosting, everything's provided by gin.net.nz. Thank you very much to Johnny for doing all that. But I think it is about time for us to sign off. Thank you guys for tuning in to the very first Kai Time. This is going to be a weekly event. I was going to run it fortnightly, but I think we can have enough content to run it weekly. As a studio, we are also still looking for casters and producers. We're not exclusively a Dota 2 studio, so if you know any other esports that you think want covering and you're good at either casting or producing, get in touch. Can't guarantee that we'll accept you, but if if you can show your worth to the company, then we're more than happy to take you on. But thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like the Facebook page, follow on Twitter. This will be VODed and uploaded to YouTube, and I believe we're also going to podcast this episode and put it up probably on SoundCloud, I think. But thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you tune in next week. I'll chuck up the waiting or the background scene. The stream will probably run for another 5 minutes or so. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Cheers for having me.
Thank you.